Hey guys, so we're going to do another interactive read aloud today. In the previous one we did on yesterday, with which Miss Webb did, it's over the story or an excerpt from the story, St. Lucy's Home for Girls Raised by Wolves. We analyzed her use of word choice and its impact on the theme of the story. So we're going to look back at that text today. So let's read the first paragraph here. Stage one. The initial period is one in which everything is new, exciting, and interesting for your students. It is fun for your students to explore their new environment from the Jesuit Handbook on Lycanthropic Culture Shock. So here, even though we just read the first paragraph, I noticed the author setting up some important structure. The short story is actually, going through 6 stages. We can see here they're only focusing on stage 1. The paragraph seems to be an explanation of that stage. It seems that at the beginning of this, right, the students will explore and be excited about the newness of their boarding school environment. So the note at the end of the paragraph tells us that this is an excerpt from a made-up book called The Jesuit Handbook on Lycanthropic Culture Shock. Lycanthropy is a supernatural study of the transformation of a person to a wolf. So if you would know that, I'd add a comment here and say transformation from a person to a wolf. The words culture shock, which is here, right? We'll add a comment. The words culture shock here tells us that the individuals who are put into the new environments would go through some issues as they transition from werewolf life into refined human life. Right? So, I can infer here that the author is telling the story in this order, okay, using these stages to narrate the transformation of the wild girls into refined, well-behaved boarding school students. So let's keep going and see if we can notice any other ways that the author is using this type of structure. So we're going to skip the second paragraph and start here. All right. E caramba, Sister Maria de la Guardia sighed. Que barbaridad. That means, oh no, this is awful. She made the sign of the cross. Sister Maria came to St. Lucy's from a halfway home in Copacabana. In Copacabana, the girls are fat and languid and eat pink slivers of guava right out of your hand. So this is more positive here. Even at stage 1, their pelts are silky, sun-bleached, near invisibility. Our pack was hirsute and sinewy and mostly brunette. Again, it's kind of showing the differences. We had terrible posture. We went knuckling along the wooden floor on the callous pads of our fist, bearing row after row of tiny wood-rotted teeth. Sister Josephine sucked in her breath. She removed a yellow willow floss from under her robes, looping it with a miniature lasso. The girls at our facility are backwoods, Sister Josephine whispered to Sister Maria de la Guardia with a beatific smile. You must be patient with them. I clamped down on her ankle, strained to close my jaws around the woolly double XL sock. Sister Josephine tasted like sweat and freckles. She smelled easy to kill. So authors often will include dialogue, which we see here as a structure to deliver ideas that come across as ironic. Ironic means sort of the opposite of what you expect. So since suspense-filled or even humorous. In this section, there is evidence of that move. So turn and talk to your neighbor, which we'll kind of do this together, about how this conversation created by the author between Sister Josephine and Sister Maria de la Guardia added humor to the text. So if we look here, right, we know she says, oh no, this is awful. So she's seeing this for the first time, right? And she's thinking, what has she gotten herself into? Then we see here, right, with as they're sort of watching, Sister Josephine sort of responds and sort of knows what Sister Maria de la Guardia is, thinking. So she is being funny, ironic as she sees Maria's reaction to what she is seeing from the stage on girls. The opposite. Oh, I can't spell. The opposite of what she is used to from Copacabana. They acted more polite there. So again, she's just sort of seeing how this is maybe going to be harder than what she thought. All right, so we're now going to skip this and go to this one here. All right. Um, So, keep reading. Our mothers and fathers were werewolves. They lived an outsider's existence in caves at the edge of the forest, threatened by frost and pitchforks. They had been ostracized by the local farmers for eating their sealed fruit pies and terrorizing the heifers, which is cows. They had ostracized the local wolves by having sometimes thumbs and regrets in human children. Their condition skips a generation. Our pet grew up in a green purgatory. We couldn't keep up with the purebred wolves, but we never stopped crawling. We spoke a slab-tongued pidgin in the cave, inflected with frequent howls. Our parents wanted something better for us. They wanted us to get braces, use towels, be fully bilingual. When the nuns showed up, our parents couldn't refuse their offer. The nuns, they said, would make us naturalized citizens of human society. We would go to St. Lucy's to study a better culture. We didn't know at the time that our parents were sending us away for good. Neither did they. So we're given specific details in this paragraph where the author is starting to explain why the girls are at this school and what will happen to them while they are here. So in your notebook, write a few sentences addressing this question. How do key details in this paragraph shape or refine the text? And so we'll do this together. So again, as we see here, we're starting to see this idea here, right? The nuns say will make us naturalized citizens of human society, right? So we know parents want what is best for their children. They want them to be assimilated into human society, right? And so as we see here, as it continues, and we'll comment that, it says, we didn't know at the time that our parents were sending us away for good, neither did they. So this is very key where it said neither did they, because it shows, this statement shows what is going to happen throughout the stages is not what parents or the students expect. And we don't really know what that is or what that's going to look like, but we can assume it has to do something with, them assimilating or sort of like getting used to human society. So it might mean the transition. This is based on what we've read before. Be hard and difficult. All right, good. So we're going to continue. All right. So that first afternoon, the nuns gave us free rein of the grounds. Everything was new, exciting, and interesting. A low granite wall surrounded St. Lucy's, the blue woods humming for miles behind it. There was a stone fountain full of delectable birds. There was a statue of St. Lucy. Her marble skin was colder than our mother's nose. Her pupilless eyes rolled heavenward. Doomed squirrels gambled around her stony toes. Our diminished pack threw back our heads in a celebratory howl, an exultant and terrible noise, even without a chorus of wolf brothers in the background. There were holes everywhere. So notice some repetition in this paragraph here that made us think back to paragraph 1. So there are two sentences that are structured very, very similarly, almost really the same. The line from paragraph 7, so gave us free rein on the grounds here. Everything was new and exciting and interesting, right? And the line from paragraph 1 is everything was new, exciting, and interesting, right? So there is literally the same exact sentence in paragraph 1. I feel the author repeated both of these ideas in the later part of the story to remind the reader that stage 1, which is what we're in, was in full effect, and that the Jesuit handbook mentioned at the beginning actually chronicles the process that these werewolf girls are going to go through during stage 1. And so again, we're currently reading through the narrator and her sister's interactions. So we'll kind of again see that as they're going throughout. So let's keep going. I guess we'll put that here. Oh. Let's keep going. So we supplemented these holes by digging some of our own. We interred sticks in our itchy new jumpers in the bones of the friendly, unfortunate squirrels. Our nose ached beneath an invisible assault. Everything was smudged with a human odor: baking bread, petrol, the nun's faint woman smell, sweating out beneath the dark perfume of tallow and incense. We smelled one another too with the same astounded fascination. Our own scent had become foreign in this strange place. We had just sprawled out in the sun for an afternoon nap, yawning into the warm dirt when the nuns reappeared. They conferred in the shadow of the juniper tree, whispering and pointing. Then they started towards us. The oldest sister had spent the past hour twitching in her sleep, dreaming of fatty and infirm milk. The pack used to dream the same dreams back then, as naturally as we drank the same water and slept on the same red scree. When our oldest sister saw the nuns approaching, she instinctively bristled. It was an improvised bristle given her new human limitations. She took clumps of her scraggly, nut brown hair and held it straight out from her head. Sister Maria gave her a brave smile. "And what is your name?" she asked. The oldest sister howled something awful and inarticulable, a distillate of hurt and panic, half-forgotten hunts, and eclipsed moons. Sister Maria nodded and scribbled on a yellow legal pad. She slapped on a name tag. "Hello, my name is." And then she wrote, "Jeanette, it is." So after reading this section, I know it's kind of long. The end gives the reader more clarification as to what they will be experiencing as they are acclimated into their new environment. In your notebook, I want you to write a few sentences explaining how the author develops the theme of. So again, thinking back, the theme is parents wanting something more for their children. So if we think theme here, theme, parents more for the children's future. So if we were to talk about this and sort of talk about, um, how or what sentences does the author use to develop this? So, by the girls being in this program, it is evident that their parents want something better for their future. By having them enter this home, the leaders know it will be a long and on process. Parents know it will ultimately be better for their children despite the hardships. Despite the hardships, to be part of society. The irony here is as a basic human interaction. Yes. Right. So here again, she just asked what her name is. She howled something awful and inarticulable, meaning again, if you can't articulate it, you can't understand it. Right. Hurt and panic, half forgotten hunt. So she just asked what's your name, and she gets a totally kind of off the wall, what we don't think of as human interaction. So obviously, if you hear, that's when she's just like, all right, Jeanette, it is. Right. So something we think of as very simple is obviously very hard for them as they're assimilating. So that's pretty much it. We're going to skip the last part. The last thing I want you to think about, you can include this in your, include in your assessment of your book. All right, this will help you whenever you're doing this on your assignment page, right? So now that we finished the part of the excerpt from the short story, and I've told you that it contains several more pages, what would you assume the author would continue to add to the structure layout of the section of the short story? So what have you learned about how the authors use structure to impact theme. So why is this effective in a narrative text? So more so with this one, right? That's what you'll focus on. So focus on the self-evaluation. All right. Well, there it is, guys. If you have any questions, let me know, and have a great day.